guys. I think you'll get sick of hearing me talk today. I certainly get fed up of hearing my own voice. So this workshop was going to be slightly different. You was going to be sat on tables and work together. So whilst the format's different, I think it's going to be really helpful if you're really engaged. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more and extend what we talked about this morning about our own technology roadmap, our workplace strategy, and our wellbeing and comfort program. But I think you'll get more out of it if you actually think about what you're doing, what you're going to do, and what you could do. So I'm going to kind of give you a bit of oversight into what we've actually done, and then I'm going to throw the questions over to you and ask you to focus on those three different themes. What are you doing in your workplace strategy that you believe creates business enablement? And then I'll give you some time to jot down some of your thoughts, and we'll have some interaction, and then we'll focus on your technology program, and then obviously wellbeing and comfort. But hopefully I'll give you I've given you the exam question. I'm going to give you some of our answers, but I learned from this session last year. We had some visions on where we wanted to go, and these types of sessions really drove home that we should just stop talking about it and get on and do some stuff. So this slide, we're actually using this for our senior leadership conference because this sums up what we should be doing globally. So we kind of, if I talk you through the journey, now we had the fantastic opportunity of a new facility, so we could bring to bear all of our experience, knowledge, lessons learned, and hopefully make sure that we got the right outcomes. Equally, we have a massive estate. We have lots of legacy estate. We have side by side a brand new building and a legacy building, and what we can't be seen to be doing is creating this fantastic new facility and not transferring those opportunities into the kind of flex lease. I think something we haven't talked about, but it's increasingly going to come onto the agenda and be a disruptor possibly next year, is real estate strategy. Our core flex co-located strategies, so our core facilities are our destination facilities, our client-facing facilities. Our flex facilities are our operational extensions so that we can flex our workforce up and down. But more and more, WeWork and people like that are disrupting our real estate strategies. They can give us facilities that are cheaper, more wacky, and in closer proximity to stations and hubs than we could ever do. So we have to take on board that strategy going forward. So again, thinking about the original drivers around location, obviously we focused on client experience, and we talk about workplace experience. I just call it experience. Whether it's workplace or client, it's about the experience. So picking the right location for your clients, thinking about the client journey, how they from the moment they get out of the tube, their car, how they go through your building. Thinking about your talent pool. So we've got a big talent pool in Poland. We had to consider where we were going to locate facilities in Poland that we could really draw on that talent pool. And particularly in Poland, how do we retain it? Because turnover is really high, even if you provide this. Attracting, retaining the best talent, it was a key driver to our new facility. Flexibility was one of the other drivers. So the space has to flex. If you imagine back in 2007 where banking was, we were building a building when we didn't know how many trading floors we needed, how our business was going to transform over the coming years. So flexibility had to be key. Proximity to travel is essential for everyone. And we do see the turnover change if people have got to drive to work, to ride to work. And then once they're in the building, they want to go out, they want to eat out, they want to socialise out. The younger workforce are living in small, cramped apartments. They use work as their home, as their kind of go-from point of an evening. So the connection to retail, to social aspects is key. And thinking about the building in that, is it a destination or is it a hub building? So that kind of starts the selection process, the real estate selection. Then you have to make sure that your resilience, we define all of our buildings as mission critical. They just have a different tier rating. So our most critical buildings are tier A data centres. Our most critical corporate facility is a tier E facility. So we have prescriptive requirements around the resilience of the assets, the infrastructure. The environmental credentials and performance is becoming so key. Our workforce want to work in a LEED Platinum building. They want to see sustainability being delivered, not just talked about. Security ever increasing, so designing a building that can not only take personal devices but vehicle devices, making sure that structure stays up, is quite new to constructors. They're not experienced in designing facades to make sure that it can withstand personal devices or vehicle devices. So you have to, again, you've got to find that specification and what you want it to be. We talked about transport and resale. So we kind of come around to the base build, and then we start to talk about what facilities do we want to provide in the building. As I said to you earlier, we've got our medical facility, we've got our dentists, our physios, we've got the restaurant, retail. We had to introduce a tech point. We're introducing bring your own device. So you've got to have the support there on hand to be able to, my laptop don't work, help me connect to the internet. I probably use my cheap personal device more in the office than I use my thin client solution. So we have a thin client solution. All of our profiles are in our data center. I could spend all day long jumping from desk to desk, logging on anywhere in the building, and it's quick, you're connected. But you've got to be able to support that as FM. Obviously, the food facilities you're providing, it's about nutritional value. The gym facilities, you're thinking about health. You're providing stairs, you want them to use the stairs, you make it competitive. You start having competitions. There's lots of apps where you can actually wave your phone before you go onto the stairs, and it tells you how many calories you've eaten, so that when you go to the restaurant you can eat more food. But nutritional value is becoming healthy eating, giving rewards to people that are eating healthily. And then you go into the workplace strategy. So how are you going to create a workplace strategy that gives people the ability to work in teams, to work individually, to have focus pods, to have breakout space, to have kind of contemplation space when you start to think about mental health. So what aspects of a workplace strategy are you thinking about? Sit-stand desks, the ability to have neighbourhoods so that you can find people. And then once you've designed the facility, then you get down to the real detail. We said last night at the dinner, 75 million people by 2020 are going to be using personal devices. I have 7,500 people that are experts in everything because they've got access to Google. When we first moved into the facility, I had a help desk ticket that a certain occupant was fearing that they'd been subject to sun rays, and that someone mentioned that they looked tanned, so they worried that the facade wasn't performing. And if you've not got that data to be able to go back with a robust answer to say you are far more protected in this glass box, and we haven't got a glass box, than you are walking to work, walking to lunch, and there's absolutely zero UV rays coming through, you're in a world of pain. So being able to, people's demand for information is ever increasing on us as FM. And then you start to think, what's the key, what do you actually measure that enhances the human production? So again, we talked to last night, the biggest cost is our people, second is our real estate. So if 90% of our cost is people and everyone's on 30 grand a year, and you times that by 65,000 people, even a 0.5% improvement, even though you can't quite measure it, makes absolute sense financially. So how do you define parameters in which you can say we are our assets are performing to give you the optimum performance for your comfort, and by default, your production is going to improve. But more importantly, the friction goes away. The 3,000 hot, cold help desk tickets that we suffer in our previous buildings disappear. We actually have I think we've had about 50 hot and cold calls, and most of them have been from our workspace coordinators. Most of them are dealt with at the workplace by demonstrating, by using the measurement equipment, that the assets are performing, the building is performing as it's designed. We're not going to change it. So, focusing on really four different themes that help us enhance our service. So the wellbeing in the workplace, the comfort policy, the metrics, temperature, all of those things. We set what the performance of those systems are going to be. We measure them, and then we're able to use the digital display screens that are around the building to feed that back. Not every day, not real time. Once a week, we said, we did. And that's important, again, from the employee survey that we do every year on our building performance. We're able to go back to them and say, you said this, we reacted. So they see that interaction. The fobs that we use for our lockers and our payment systems, we're able to start tracking people, start seeing how the building's performing, how the users are building it, how the breakout furniture is used compared to the project furniture, to the desk furniture. So sometimes we can tweak those spaces. So for a business that doesn't particularly use the breakouts area, we can put different solutions in that help them kind of use the space fully. We're achieving agile ratios of 1 to 1.4, 1 to 1.6 in some occasions by creating neighbourhoods, by assigning people to neighbourhoods, and then achieving those really good agile ratios. If you walk on our floors, they look empty, they look spacious, they look airy, and they don't look like you've tried to pack everyone in. But when you get to the 1 to 4s, 1 to 6, you really have to start thinking about how you manage your workforce. So you can't, and our technology tells us, and we're able to feed back to the executive committee, too many people are taking Friday as their working from home day. We need to balance that out. And it's incumbent on the managers to manage that. Predictive maintenance. Once you have this connected environment, the sensor technology, you've got a platform now to use predictive maintenance. Predictive maintenance is not new, but we've now got the connectivity. We've now got the front-end systems that are able to respond to that. So vibration analysis on motors, individual plant, fault codes, can all come back through the connected environment. As I said, water quality, we're measuring temperatures in every toilet. So we're not sending that engineer out to make sure that we reach the right temperature. We can tell and we alarm if we don't, and then we send them. We've got push buttons in our vending areas, in our bathrooms, such that if people are going in more frequently, we can focus the cleaners to there. If bins are full, they push the button, someone's coming to respond, rather than just touring the floors, making sure that we're changing every bin every hour or 3 hours. And then ultimately that comes down to profiling the building and being able to continually innovate the building performance based on user feedback, user behaviours, and the data that we're receiving. So this kind of goes into detail. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I really want to kind of open it up to you and get you to start thinking about it. But these are all the metrics that we're measuring from comfort. These are all the aspects of what we see as well-being, contemplation rooms, multi-faith rooms. Try and find a specification for a multi-faith room. It's difficult. So you have to kind of come up with it yourself, but you can only do that by engaging those communities. The way the desks are, the ergonomics, the fact that I feel more energized, I feel more productive if I'm standing, and the fact that I've got the ability to do that is great. Again, I touched on it in the earlier conversation. Getting the basics right, brilliant basics as it's called. Taking our existing processes and just making them digital. Taking the physical to the digital. That will just make you far more effective and efficient to start with. So that's certainly the area we focused on in the first instance. And CAFM, I think someone's talked about there's so much data, what do you do with it? Thinking about the end in mind, thinking about the outcome, it all has to come back to a tool. And all of our wayfinding solutions that help people find people, 750 people on the floor, even though you know they're in a neighbourhood, you still need to find out where they're sat. If it's me, I'm never at my desk, so you really want to know where I'm sat if you want to drop something off. So the wayfinding solution makes that frictionless. The back end of that is we get the utilisation from where they've logged on. The sensors tell us, it tells me that I've logged on all day but I've never sat there. And then you are really able to go back to the business and say, why are you only achieving 1.1? They're achieving 1.4. And kind of keep that tension across the businesses. This is our wayfinding solution. So you go onto the floor, you put in someone's name, it tells you where they're sat. We don't do desk booking because we have the neighbourhoods. The back end of that is the utilisation data, which is invaluable. And again, as I said, we can't just roll that out in a flashy new building. We have to put it into all the other buildings as well. And mobile apps. There's a lot around mobile apps, and people tend to dive to the solution and say, we need a mobile app. They don't really think about what it's used for. I think that's just a progression of being able to give real-time information to people. So queues in the restaurant is a great one to have, but don't dive straight into the app solution. Think about what you need it for, how it's going to enhance or nudge or give better value. The app for the gym, where it talks to your heart monitor, on the display screen, you get competition in the gym. It's worrying sometimes because I'm always down at the lower end and there's always these energetic people that are working far higher than me. But that's real time. I've got a sensor, it's going to my app, it's going to a display screen. And you're able to get that competition that I've got more MEPs than someone else in the office. And again, it creates a community, it creates the social aspects of the office. When I go back to the workplace, they joke with me that I'm not training hard enough. So, with all of that in mind, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes first of all to think about your workplace strategy. What you believe in your workplace currently is an enabler, what you could be doing or what you want to be doing, and what you think you should be doing. So if you jot it down on the piece of paper you've given, what we do is, if we don't get to hear them all, hopefully we'll collect them in and then we'll get someone to bring it all together and we'll share it post-event in kind of what I think is the workplace strategy, but also what you think is. So if you just take a couple of minutes to jot down and then we'll just throw out some thoughts.